The point of departure of this research project is that we all make risk-taking choices in all spheres of life. When we decide on what kind of education to pursue, when we decide on how to invest our money, and when we decide on health behavior, for example, whether to start smoking. These risk-taking choices generate inequalities in society, and what we wanted to study was whether these people consider these inequalities fair or unfair. In particular, we wanted to study inequalities between people that made these different choices, one taking the risk, the other not, and inequalities between people that made the same choice but had different luck.
In order to study these issues, we invited students to the lab. And in the lab, we asked them to make two types of decisions. In the first part of the experiment, we asked them to make risk-taking decisions. They could choose between a safe alternative and a risky alternative. And this created the two types of inequalities that we were interested in. Inequalities between people making different choices, and inequalities between people who had different luck. In the second part of the experiment, we asked people to make distributive decisions, where they were asked to divide the money earned in the first part of the experiment. This allowed us to examine people's preferences for eliminating different types of inequalities.
So from the experiment described by Alexander, we have two main findings. The first main finding is that we observe that people hold each other responsible for risk-taking choices, which means that people find fair inequalities between those who took risk and those who did not. Second, at the same time, we find that people find it unfair inequalities deriving from differences in luck, which means that they want to eliminate inequalities between lucky and unlucky risk takers.
These results shed light on the support for policies aimed at helping unlucky risk takers. So going back to Bertil's example of the smoker, is it fair that non-smoking taxpayers should finance healthcare for unlucky smokers? Our results suggest that most people find it fair that the smokers themselves finance this type of healthcare, which could provide a justification for taxes levied on tobacco. More generally, our study illustrates the importance of understanding what type of inequalities people find fair and what type of inequalities people find unfair.